And that will open up for the kind of realization of that great ocean of awareness that is somehow no longer interfered with by all that activity that breaks up. It makes it easier to see it. Now, sometime later, Nagarjuna, one of the early proponents of the wisdom school in Mahayana Buddhism, came along and said, wait a minute. As we're looking at that pulsing, yes, it's true that normally if you keep looking at it, you'll notice the going out more than the coming into existence of each one of those movements of the mind. But that presupposes time. And maybe time itself is just another construction of mind. So, Nagarjuna said something like, if you start looking at that, when things come into existence, that they don't really come into existence because they're already here. And when they seem to go out of existence, they don't really go out of existence because they're really staying here. Then if you look at it in that funny way, what begins to happen is you begin to see that the idea of things coming and going in time is just another idea. It's another construction of mind. And then it opens up to a whole different level of experience that's outside of the convention of ordinary time. You open up to a level of awareness that I like to translate it as ever-present awareness. It can't come and go because it's not interfered with by time. It's always right here, and it's vast. And then, you see, the realizations that you get are no longer cast within the convention of ordinary time. So there aren't stages to realization anymore. And what you find is a profoundly different state of consciousness that you open up to, which is a kind of, it's hard to describe it. The Tibetan word is kunji. It's often translated as storehouse consciousness, but it really means storehouse consciousness.
Okay.
It means all at onceness.
Okay.
In other words, what you've done is you've shifted from serial information processing, using Western language here, to simultaneous processing, where everything is here all at once, interconnected. As it said, all realms and times are here all at once. And you get the all-at-onceness of it. Okay. Then, when you open up the awakening, it's a very different kind of awakening. Because you see, the awakening is cast with the awareness that everything potentially possible in this, experientiable, in this world, in all worlds, is here all at once. So, you see, it's not like that if you awaken in the Mahayana sense that everyone in this vast sea of interconnected humanity awakens, along with us. But if you awaken your mind, since from that level of realization, everything and everyone is interconnected, that's said to have Wang, influence. So when you awaken the mind, your individual consciousness from that perspective, it ripples, the influence ripples across a sea of interconnected beings and plants the seeds for the awakening of everyone. That's said to be the lofty view of the Mahayana. It's a direct realization of a level of simultaneous consciousness, where whatever you're doing in your practice will have an influence on all consciousnesses. That's a very different kind of realization. Now, eventually, when you awaken in the Mahayana, you also eradicate reactivity. That's called the liberation component of awakening. It gets rid of all the reactivity, all the suffering. But in addition to that, what you get in the Mahayana, which you don't find in the earlier Theravadan Buddhist literature, is another component, which is called the omniscient component of awakening. You have this vast all-at-onceness as a direct experience. And you open up to what are called the Buddha bodies. The Buddha bodies are your basis of operation is no longer within individual consciousness. Your basis of operation is now the Dharmakaya awareness, that vast ocean of awareness that's the ground of our being. Simultaneous with that, the energy of manifesting anything in existence across any potential kind of existence is there at the same time. And simultaneous with that is your individual consciousness and the content of your individual consciousness and your personal identity and the stuff of your ordinary mind. It's like quadraphonics, all levels at once.
All there. Everything's there. And how is it operating in today's world in that state?
No contradiction. You just opened up the other levels simultaneously.
So everything is there when it needs to be there.
And the content of what we're talking about, the focus of what we're talking about right now is on this level, what we're talking about. It's just that all the other levels are open simultaneous to that. That's the level of awakening that you find in the Mahayana. And that awakening is at once an ocean of awareness. And that's also an ocean of loving kindness. It's the basis of compassion. Then all the movements of the mind are operative in the service of trying to help all of us in our basic humanity to improve, to cause the flourishing of all the positive qualities that are inherent in anyone's nature, and to eradicate all the negative qualities that interfere with seeing that. That's the great awakening in the Mahayana.
So one of the things that we get asked a lot on Conscious TV is to explore more the subject of non-duality. Okay. And we talked about a little about this before we were doing the program. How does that fit into this bigger picture you're talking about?
It's not the same. It's a prerequisite. But let me set some foundation for that. Okay. In Mahayana Buddhism, the key, the foundation of the practice is with emptiness. And what emptiness means is to see that everything is just a construction. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but you see it the way it is, as merely a construction. My Dan-ness, your Ian-ness, what we call our personal identity, it's a useful construction of mind. It's a very good reference point to have in our everyday life. But we tend to forget that it's just a construction. Okay. And we tend, as a result of failing to see it's a construction, we reify it. We tend to take it too seriously. We make it too solid. And that brings with it what's called zinpa, or grasping. That's what creates suffering in the Mahayana. So, when you practice emptiness of self, you're not trying to get rid of the self. What you're looking at is to see that that Dan-ness is just merely a construction, a kind of idea. Okay, useful in living in everyday reality, but ultimately it's just a construction of mind. And when you see it that way, and you continue to see it that way, then when you're meditating, your basis of operation for the meditation, when I'm concentrating, it's not going to be Dan-ness. It's going to be awareness. Because awareness is different from Dan-ness. And awareness will now guide the meditation rather than Dan observing and doing the meditation. Awareness knows how to do the meditation better than Dan does. So I'm operating out of awareness itself as my basis of operation in the meditations. We call that emptiness of self. Okay. The next is emptiness of phenomena. And that has to do with what in the West we'd call reality construction. Okay. The mind-only school of Buddhism is the easiest way of understanding that.